The Secretary will please call the roll.
Alquist, Anderson, Berryhill, Blakesley, Calderon, Canella, Corbett, Correa, De Leon, DeSaulnier, Dutton, Emerson, Evans, Fuller, Gaines, Hancock, Harmon, Hernandez, Huff, Kehoe, LaMalfa, Leno, Ted Lieu, Carol Liu, Lowenthal, Negrete McLeod, Padilla, Pavley, Price, Rubio, Runner, Smidian,
Here.
Steinberg, Strickland, Vargas, Walters, Wolk, Wright, Weiland, Yee.
Members, a quorum has been established. We have a quorum present. Would the members and our guests beyond the rail and in the gallery please rise? We will be led in prayer this morning by our guest chaplain, the Reverend Dr. Pamela Anderson, and we welcome her daughter Charlie to the chambers as well. The Pledge of Allegiance will then be led by Senator Tom Harmon. Reverend?
Good morning. A friend of mine by the name of DeWitt Jones had been a photographer for the National Geographic for 20 years. And whenever the Geographic would send him out on an assignment, they would commission him with these words: "Go celebrate what's right with the world." Let us pray. Eternal God, it is easy for us to focus upon the struggles with our economy, the high unemployment rate, and the crime that is taking place within our neighborhoods. But let us not lose vision for what is right in our world. We pray for our California Senate today and for this great state of California. We pray that the decisions that are made in these chambers will help us celebrate what is right in California and for our world. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, Senator Harmon. Members, we are at privileges of the floor. Senator Kehoe, do you have a presentation you'd like to make at this time?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would actually, if I may, could I go back to Senator Steinberg's desk?
Absolutely. Senator Kehoe will be recognized at Senator Steinberg's desk. Once again, Senator
Members,
Kehoe.
I'd like to just take a minute of your time before we begin today's business to tell you about a very positive program here in California that we all support. This book that you found on your desk this morning highlights the grants that have gone into each of our communities to enhance our cultural, historic, and artistic resources in the state, sometimes refurbishing historic theaters and other really fabulous projects. I am talking about the California Endowment, the Cultural and Historical Endowment, and behind me this morning are some of the people who make it work so well. The endowment was established in 2003 by the legislature to preserve and protect our resources. Since 2005, using Proposition 40 funds, the endowment has funded over 170 capital projects, members, and planning grants around the state. And over 140 of the completed projects are highlighted in the booklet. I was honored to serve as one of our 2 Senate members on the endowment, joining Senator Kevin De Leon over the last 7 years. And behind me this morning, I'm very proud to present Mimi Morris, the executive officer of the endowment, Stacy Aldrich, the board chair, and our state librarian, and 2 members of the board, Georgette Imura and Blaine Lamb. We are delighted to have them here this morning, and I'd ask you to join me in thanking them for their outstanding work on behalf of California, and would ask permission for Ms. Morris to say just a few words, Mr. President.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, members.
Ms. Morris, welcome.
Thank you very much. We're delighted to be here today to present a copy of our book to all of you so that you can see the great work of the CCHE to preserve and protect resources throughout our state in your communities, in all of our communities. These structures actually tell important stories about the diversity of California, our story as a very diverse people, and the very interesting history of California. So I welcome your visitation at all of these sites. I know there are many beautiful places that many of you have already seen. I'm looking at Senator Leno with the Palace of Fine Arts in mind that has just been lovingly restored in the last few months. There are wonderful examples of also volunteerism throughout our state. These projects have required many, many hours of people's contributions to make sure that the work has been done and that the projects stay open for the people of California. So we thank you for your support, and it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Members, before I go to Senator Dutton, I will just indicate that we have messages from the governor, which will be deemed read, messages from the Assembly, which will be deemed read, messages from, reports from committees, reports from committees, which will be deemed read, and amendments adopted. And I will now go to Senator Dutton. For what purpose do you rise, Senator?
I wish to call a Republican caucus in the Cox Lounge.
Republican caucus in the Cox Lounge. Republican caucus in the Cox Lounge. We are in recess for a Republican caucus. Motions, resolutions, and notices. If I could ask for the attention of the Senate, please. Under motions and resolutions, pursuant to Senate Rule 29.10, the following bills are referred to the Rules Committee. Item 218, which is AB 641, and item number 9, which is AB 1178. There are floor amendments at the desk. They will be deemed adopted. Without objection, it is so ordered. And members, at the request of the author, file item 151 by Assemblymember Charles Calderon will be moved to inactive. Once again, file item 151 by Assemblymember Calderon will be moved to inactive at the request of the author. Without objection, so ordered. Members, we remain at motions and resolutions. Do we have items under motions and resolutions? To consideration of the daily file, we have a second reading file. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 52, Assembly Bill 1418, 1419, 1420, 1421, 1425 with amendments, 1416 with amendments, 766 with amendments, 1178 with amendments, Assembly Bill 325 with amendments, 551 with amendments, 54 with amendments, 300 with amendments, 486 with amendments, 585 with amendments.
Deemed read. So ordered. Members, that takes us to governor's appointments. Senator Steinberg, are you available to take up governor's appointments? Not on the floor at this time. Members, moving to motions and resolutions once again, if there are members who have adjourned in memories, this would be an appropriate time. Senator De Leon, one moment, please, while we bring the House to order. Members, if we could ask the House to come to order, and if members could take the desks unless otherwise necessary, we'd like to turn our attention to Senator De Leon. Senator De Leon, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
I rise to adjourn in the memory of Richard Chavez, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, as well as members, I rise to adjourn in the memory of Richard Chavez, who helped his older brother, legendary labor organizer Cesar Chavez, build the United Farm Workers. Chavez died from complications following surgery in a Bakersfield hospital. The UFW announced he was 81. Born on his family's farm near Yuma, Arizona in November 1929, Chavez was a migrant worker as a child growing up in the Great Depression. He left the fields to become a union carpenter in the city of San Jose, then left his trade to help his brother organize the farm workers in the early 1960s. Richard Chavez oversaw construction of the Union Hall at the UFW headquarters in Delano, California, and was the first director of the National Farm Workers Service Center in 1966, providing social services for farm workers. He also designed the Black Eagle emblem that is the union's insignia back in 1962. When you see those flags, those black and red flags with that Black Eagle, that is Richard Chavez. He worked for years in the union organizing the California Great Boycott in the late 1960s and later boycotts in New York as well as Detroit. Chavez retired from the union in 1983 but remained very active. He obtained a state contractor's license and built custom homes in Los Angeles in the 1990s. Richard Chavez is survived by his lifelong partner, Dolores Huerta, his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. He's also survived by his brother, Librado, and his sisters, Rita Chavez Medina and Vicky Chavez Lastra. He will deeply be missed. He's part of a legendary family, men and women who lay their lives on the line to help the common man and woman on the street. Colleagues, members on both sides of the aisle, I respectfully adjourn in the memory of Mr. Richard Chavez.
Thank you, Senator De Leon, and please convey the sympathies of the Senate to friends and family of the deceased. Senator Rubio, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
To adjourn in memory.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. It is with a heavy heart that I rise today to adjourn in the memory of longtime Hanford dairy farmer Don Giacomazzi. He died Thursday at the age of 73. He was the owner of Giacomazzi Dairy, which has been in operation since 1893, making it the oldest family-owned dairy in the San Joaquin Valley and possibly in the entire state of California. The dairy has been a family business for 4 generations, and it's now managed by his son, Dino. Mr. Giacomazzi graduated from Hanford High in 1955, studied dairy, science, and agricultural business at the College of Sequoias and Fresno State. He was a local school board member for more than 30 years and has been heavily involved in numerous community, agricultural, and dairy organizations. My thoughts and prayers are with the loved ones of Don Giacomazzi, as well as the entire Hanford community. I ask that we adjourn in his memory today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Rubio. Senator Rubio, please extend the condolences of the Senate to friends and family, and I'm advised by the desk that they need you to bring that name forward so that we can ensure that it is properly memorialized. Senator Padilla, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Adjourn in memory.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, please join me in adjourning today in memory of Edie Wasserman, born Edith Beckerman in 1915 in Cleveland. She was the widow of legendary Hollywood powerhouse Lew Wasserman, who was chief executive of MCA and president of Universal Pictures for many years. They were married for 66 years until his passing in 2002. And while Lew Wasserman was much more the one in the limelight and in the headlines, Edie Wasserman was certainly no slouch. She was a tireless benefactor of a number of charitable causes, putting their family wealth to great work, including sponsoring the Motion Picture and Television Fund, which seeks to establish health care and other support services to retired actors, actresses, and other retired folks from the entertainment industry. The Edie and Lew Wasserman Eye Research Center in UCLA is another tremendous example of their charitable and strategic giving. In fact, having been a product of the Depression, as a couple, they remembered what it was like to not be able to afford college and have so established significant scholarship funds at 6 major universities. Their names were also on key facilities at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, Cal Arts, the Los Angeles Music Center. She is survived by her daughter Lynn, grandchildren Casey and Carol, and 3 great-grandchildren. Tremendous, tremendous business and philanthropic family. I ask that we adjourn in her memory.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. And again, if you would please extend the condolences of the Senate to friends and family. And Senator Padilla, I am advised that the desk needs the name brought forward in order to ensure that the deceased is properly memorialized. Senator Yee, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Adjourn in memory.
Senator Yee, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It is also with a heavy heart that I announced the passing of Eric Quesada. Eric died yesterday after a 7-year battle with cancer. He's survived by his wife, Lorena Mucarijo, and the 3-year-old daughter named Echel. Eric was one of those individuals that really didn't seek the limelight of politics or the community, but just simply as an advocate. Over the years, he distinguished himself by quietly doing what he had to do and what he needed to do to help those individuals living in the mission area of...
Senator Yee, one moment, please. Members, each member who rises to offer an in memoriam does so because of the respect for the individual whose life we recognize here on the chamber floors. If we could ask that while members provide those in memoriams, that the attention of the chambers is respectfully given to the presenting member, please. Senator Yee, please proceed.
Thank you very much. He fought valiantly and quietly for a lot of individuals in the Mission District in San Francisco, predominantly Latino individuals, poor Latinos, and fighting for housing rights for them. He ended his career as executive director of the Dolores Street Community Service. That institution became a drawing, a meeting ground for all kinds of different individuals. You know, I remember when the Haiti disaster happened, and he opened his doors to so many other individuals wanting to do what they could to be of help to Haitians, and that's the spirit of Eric, and the community mourns his passing, but most importantly, the people mourns his passing. And with that, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Senator Yee. Please convey the condolences of the Senate. Let me check with the desk. We do need that name at the desk to ensure that the passing is properly memorialized. Senator Correa, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
To adjourn in the memory of 3 Marines and 1 Green Beret.
Please proceed.
It's with heavy heart that I also rise to adjourn in the memory of 3 Marines and 1 Army Green Beret. Marine Lance Corporal Norberto Mendez, 22, who grew up in Anaheim, was killed this last Sunday during combat mission in Afghanistan. Mendez joined the Marine Corps last year, and in March he was deployed to the 1st Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment out of Camp Pendleton. It was his first tour of duty. He is survived by his wife, his 2 children, a 7-month-old and a 2-year-old. Robert Reyes Villegas, 76, of Anaheim, passed away August 14th of liver cancer. He is survived by his wife Evelyn, his daughters Helen, Lisa, and his sons Robert, Mark, and Aaron. He has 22 grandchildren, 24th great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren. Our 3rd Marine, Judge David Sills, who served as presiding justice of the 4th District Court of Appeals in Santa Ana for 20 years, died Tuesday after a lengthy battle with cancer. He was 73 and was the highest-ranking state judicial officer in Orange County before he retired in June because of his illness. He was a former mayor of Irvine, where he sat on the city council for 9 years, as a former Orange County Superior Court judge for 5 years, and a Marine Corps captain. He was born in Peoria, Illinois in 1938, where he attended high school and college and law school. And while in the Marines, he was stationed in Southern California, where he fell in love with the area and stayed here for the rest of his life. Judge Sills hung up his law shingle in 1965, and he practiced law for 20 years before he was appointed to the Orange County Superior Court bench by then Governor George McMinion. He is survived by his wife Susan. And our Green Beret, Jesse Ugalde, beloved husband, father, and friend, an honored United States Army colonel and former secretary of the California Department of Veterans Affairs, passed away last month in his home. He had a 33-year distinguished career in the United States Army that spanned through World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. He was one of the original Green Beret officers and Army aviators who qualified to fly both planes and helicopters, and he was decorated for his military service and bravery. And during World War II, he fought in Africa, Sicily, and Italy, where he was received an on-the-spot promotion to captain from General Patton at the young age of 21. He will be missed.
Thank you, Senator Correa, and please convey the sympathies of the Senate to the friends and families of the deceased, as well as thanks for their service. Senator Leno, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to join Senator Yee in the adjourned memory of Eric Caseta. Thank you, colleagues. I'll be brief. I just wanted to add some of my own thoughts and comments. I worked with Eric Caseta for many years at the Dolores Street Community Services, and though he was soft-spoken in his personal presentation, he was a fierce champion and fighter for those who had the least, and especially for immigrants and newcomers to San Francisco who did not have a place, who may not have had family. The Dolores Street Community Services provided shelter, assistance, and a way to find their footing in their new home of San Francisco. He also had the recognition and invested in the value of the strength of community, knowing that when we pull together, we can augment our individual strengths and get to greater results. So he was a really fine individual, and I ask you to join us, Senator Yee and I, in sending condolences and support to all of his friends and his surviving wife and children. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Leno. Duly noted. Senator DeSaulnier, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Adjourn in memory, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
I want to adjourn in memory for a constituent and a good friend, Louise Clark. She was a resident of Lafayette, California. She died last week after battling lymphoma for about a year. Louise and her husband, Johnson Clark, came to the Bay Area 45 years ago from Chicago after Johnson was relieved of duty in World War II, after World War II, and I believe Korea, where he served in the United States Navy. Louise Clark was an activist in every way in the East Bay, both in local, state, national government, very active in the Democratic Party. She's probably most well known by the public in the East Bay for owning a piece of property adjacent to the Lafayette BART station right next to Highway 24, a very busy highway in the East Bay, where she started her own statement on the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, erecting 20 wooden crosses for the first 20 fatalities from those wars. They now cover that hill. They've actually run out of space. She also loved to tell a story about how she had taken her house in Lafayette off the grid many years ago, and how the meter reader was convinced that she would somehow done something illegal and had his supervisors come out several times, but she'd spent the money to make sure she was off the grid. She believed very strongly that U.S. energy policy was putting young people at risk. She's a delightful person, and I guess the best word to explain her is indomitable, and I would appreciate the Senate adjourning in her memory.
Thank you, Senator Saulnier. Senator Hancock, I understand you rise to memorialize the same passing. Is that correct?
I do. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Louise Clark was a friend and mentor to me and countless other people in the Bay Area, a real role model. She was a luminous person, a mentor, a leader propelled by conviction, courage, kindness, and great generosity. She was always dignified and gracious, as her career was that of a real estate investor and a mother of 6. But in the face of that, she never shrunk from controversy, as Senator Saulnier outlined. She was not afraid to stand alone for what she believed in until others had the courage to join her, which they often did. But she really is a wonderful example of a civically engaged person for all the right motives and reasons, who is extraordinarily effective in her community. So I also wish us to adjourn in her memory. Mr. President, I also have another adjourn in memory that I would like to make. This is adjourning in the memory of Margaret Harvey, who died last week at her home in Berkeley. Margaret was a well-known watercolor painter with a feisty sense of independence. She is survived by her husband Bernard, retired from Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory, where he participated on teams that discovered new elements and developed many innovative medical treatments. She is the mother of 5 children, including Allison Harvey, who worked here in the legislature for 24 years. Margaret died gracefully in peace and comfort. She is sorely missed by those she left behind. And I would like us to adjourn in her memory.
Thank you, Senator Hancock, and to both Senator Hancock and Senator Saulnier. We would ask that you convey the sympathies of the Senate to the friends and family of the deceased. Senator Juan Vargas, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Under motions and resolutions,
please proceed.
I'd like to request unanimous consent that file item number 54, SB 503, be sent back to the Assembly for further action.
Without objection, We could ask you to repeat the file item and the bill number, please.
Of course. File item number 54, SB 503.
Without objection, so ordered. Thank you, Senator. Members, do we have any other items under motions and resolutions? Senator Harmon, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Announcement.
For purpose of announcement?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. Last night in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, at the Little League World Series, my hometown, Ocean View Little League Baseball from Huntington Beach, unfortunately, after winning the first two games in the World Series, was defeated by Billings, Montana, 1-0 in an actually extra innings in seventh inning when their pitcher, who to me looked to be about 18, 19 years old, hit a home run. So I just want to congratulate the home team for a great effort in the Little League World Series.
Please convey the congratulations of the Senate and extraordinary accomplishment. Senator Corbett, for what purpose do you rise, ma'am?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is with regard to suspending Joint Rule 62A.
Please proceed.
Yes, I'd like to move to suspend Joint Rule 62A to allow the following committees to meet and hear the following bills: Appropriations, AB 506, Judiciary, AB 1219, and GO, AB 946. As the Majority Leader, I'm asking for an aye vote on this measure.
Senator Harmon, for what purpose do you rise?
We'd like to ask that those requests be treated separately and a roll call on two of them.
Thank you. Without objection, we will proceed on the request for a waiver of Joint Rule 62A on each of these three items as a separate matter. We will begin with a motion to suspend Joint Rule 62A, file day notice rule, in order for the Senate Governmental Organization Committee to hear AB 946, Lowenthal. Senator Corbett, have I accurately stated your motion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Harmon, you're comfortable with the division of the motion? Then we will ask the Secretary to please post and call the roll. Members, this is on AB 946. Senator Corbett is asking for an aye vote on the motion to suspend, and Senator Harmon, you are asking for a no vote. Secretary, call the roll.
Alquist, aye. Anderson, no. Berryhill, Blakesley, no. Calderon, aye. Canella, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. De Leon, aye. DeSaulnier, aye. Dutton, Emerson, Evans, aye. Fuller, no. Gaines, no. Hancock, aye. Harmon, no. Hernandez, aye. Huff, no. Kehoe, aye. LaMalfa, no. Leno, aye. Ted Lieu, aye. Carol Lieu, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Rubio, aye. Runner, no. Semidian,
aye.
Aye. Steinberg, Strickland, aye. Vargas, aye. Walters, no. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, aye. Yee, Yee, aye. Huff, no to aye. Runner, no to aye.
Please call the absent members.
Berryhill, aye. Dutton, Emerson, aye. Steinberg,
Ayes 31, noes 7. The joint rule is suspended. Senator Corbett, would you like to offer a motion at this time to suspend Joint Rule 62A with respect to AB 506?
Yes, Mr. President.
Senator Harmon, asking for a no vote. Members, we have a motion to suspend Joint Rule 62A with respect to AB 506. Senator Corbett asked for an aye vote. Senator Harmon asked for a no vote. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. No. Blakesley. No. Calderon. Aye. Canella. No. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. No. Emerson. No. Evans. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. No. Kehoe. Aye. Lamotha. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. No. Semidian.
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg. Strickland. No. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. No. Wright. Aye. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee, aye. Harmon, no. Correa we have as aye. Correa, aye to no.
Call the absent members.
LaMalfa. Steinberg.
Ayes 22, noes 16. The joint rule is suspended. Members, that takes us to the third of these procedural motions. Senator Corbett, you are asking to waive Joint Rule 62A with respect to AB 1219.
Yes, I'm asking for an aye vote.
Thank you. Motion by Corbett. Senator Harmon.
Actually, Mr. President, we have no objection to this one, but I don't think we have a unanimous roll established yet, so we'll probably have to vote. But
we will call the roll. Then let me one moment, please, members. Senator Corbett, this is a joint rule waiver 62A as to AB 1219. There is no objection from Senator Harmon. Is there an objection from any other member? No, this is the same. This is the one. I'm just repeating it. We have one item on the floor now, members. This is the one item that Senator Harmon has indicated he has no objection to. And then, in the absence of a unanimous consent, we will call the roll on this item. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll. Remember, members, Senator Corbett asking for an aye vote. Senator Harmon with no objection to an aye vote. Please proceed.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Correa. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. No. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. Lamotha. Aye. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Aye. Semidian.
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Blakesley. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Steinberg.
Ayes 36, noes 2. The joint rules are suspended. Members, that completes these procedural items. We do have governor's appointments to take up at this time. We're going to confer with the desk for a moment and see whether or not the President Pro Tem is prepared to take up governor's appointments at this time. Senator Steinberg, would you like to take up governor's appointments at this time?
Happily.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If we could begin with item 24. Okay. This is Jeffrey J. Ferguson, a member of the Board of Parole Hearings. This passed on June the 1st, a long time ago. Vote of 5-0. We urge an aye vote.
Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. Aye. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Aye. Semidian.
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Aye. Yee. Yee aye. Blakesley aye.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The appointment is confirmed. Senator Steinberg, do you have other items?
Yes, I do.
Please
File
proceed.
item 29, please.
File item 29.
These are the appointments of Christopher Giza, Michael Dean, Daniel Curtin, and Sylvia Diego. Mr. Giza is the State Athletic Commission. Mr. Dean is the California Commission on Disability Access. Daniel Curtin, the Industrial Welfare Commission. Sylvia Diego, the Medical Board of California. In addition, we have Thomas Anderson, Lilai Bowie, Robert Cook, Jeffrey Lundgren, James McDonald, and Michael Sobek, Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training, and Yvonne Burke and Fran Inman with the California Transportation Commission. These were all heard in the committee on the 17th of August, approved on a 4-0 vote. Happy to spend 15 minutes on each person if you'd like on the floor here. But if that's not necessary, I'll just ask for an aye vote.
Members, is there any debate or discussion? Any debate or discussion? If not, members, is there any objection to substituting our previous unanimous roll call on this item? Once again, is there any objection to substituting our previous unanimous roll call on this item? If not, ayes 40, noes 0. The appointments are confirmed. Senator Steinberg, I believe you have one other item.
This is file item 36. These are the appointments of Cleotha Adams, Kimberly Epps, Linda Penner, and Mimi Silbert to the Correction Standards Authority, and Carol Hart, Maurice Johannesson, Paul Witt, and Elva Yanez to the State Parks and Recreation Commission. These were all heard yesterday in the Rules Committee and approved on a 5-0 vote. No opposition. I'd urge an aye vote.
Is there debate or discussion? There is. Senator Dutton.
Yeah, I'd like to separate the nomination of Maurice Johansson.
Members, we have had a request for the division of the question. Without objection, it will be so ordered. We're going to give the desk one moment, please. Members, we will take up all of the governor's appointees just announced by Senator Steinberg, with the exception of Maurice Johansson on the first roll call. Subsequently, having divided the question, we will take up Maurice Johansson's appointment second and separately. Members, we are ready to take a vote on the governor's appointments. These are all of the appointments announced by Senator Steinberg, with the exception of Maurice Johansson. Members, on these appointments, is there any objection to substituting our previous unanimous roll call? Any objection to substituting our previous unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing none, without objection, ayes 40, noes 0, the appointments are confirmed. Members, that leaves us with the single governor's appointment to consider, and that is of Maurice Johansen. The desk will take one moment to post members. Once again, this is governor's appointments. Maurice Johansen. Is there any objection to substituting our previous unanimous roll call on this item? There is. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Dutton. No. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. Aye. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Aye. Semidian.
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. No. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee. Aye. Berryhill. No.
Call the absent members.
DeSaulnier. DeSaulnier. Aye.
Ayes 35, noes 5. The appointment is confirmed. Senator Dutton, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
Under governor's appointments, I have another item I'd like to bring up, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
Without reference to file, I move to confirm Dave Cogdale and Mr. Paul Kelly to the California Water Commission. My understanding, Mr. President, that these two nominees have actually been in the Rules Committee now for some time, a little over a year, and I think it's time to go ahead and confirm them.
One moment, please. Could you announce again the names of the two individuals?
Mr. Dave Cogdale and Mr. Paul Kelly. They previously have been, they're in Rules Committee right now, and it's my understanding that the governor has not officially withdrawn Mr. Cogdale and Mr. Kelly from consideration, so unless a letter has been received by the desk withdrawing these nominations, they're still before the Senate, and therefore they would be eligible to be taken up by the House.
Thank you, Senator. And Senator, if you could remind the body one more time, the appointments are to which body?
These two gentlemen were originally heard in Rules, and they were to be appointed to the California Water Commission.
California Water Commission. Thank you very much. We have a motion by Senator Dutton. We go now to Senator Steinberg.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm going to urge my colleagues to oppose the motion, but I want to speak to the motion in a moment because I have some sympathy with the underlying reason for the motion. Neither Mr. Kelly nor Mr. Cogdale have been heard in Rules. The governor has indicated his intent, if we set them for Rules, that he will withdraw Mr. Cogdale. I have made a public statement, and I'm happy to repeat it here on the floor, that if the governor were not to do that, I would happily confirm Dave Cogdale. He was a member of this House. He was an honorable member of this House, and he made some very tough and difficult decisions in the most trying times for California. And I consider him a friend. But it's a bit of a catch-22 because to set him will mean that his nomination will be immediately withdrawn, and then to what end? So that's why he's not been sent. I'm willing to continue to have conversations with the governor about this subject, because I believe Dave Cogdell put his heart and soul into the water deal that we passed in 2009, and that he would be an outstanding member of the Water Commission. I oppose the motion and urge that it be defeated.
I'll lay it on the table. Okay,
Whatever it is. In response?
Members, one moment, please. Senator Steinberg, Senator Dutton had his microphone up before you offered the motion to lay on the table. The motion to lay on the table, of course, is not debatable. As a courtesy, I would like to allow Senator
I would, of
Dutton
course,
to
give
respond.
Senator Dutton that courtesy.
Thank you, Senator Dutton. And then I will come back to you, Senator Steinberg, to call for the motion at that time, or to Senator Corbett. I see that you both have risen.
Actually, I believe that it's not actually necessary to set an actual hearing within rules itself. The nomination can be brought directly to the floor. And I believe that when you take a look at what this has been actually on the agenda for 2010, I think it sends a bad signal with regards to wanting to come up with true bipartisanship type solutions to some of California's most critical problems. And water is definitely one of those. Therefore, I would encourage that the body, and I do believe it is within their authority, and it doesn't have to be set for hearing. As a matter of fact, Mr. Cogdell was actually told it was not necessary to appear because it was scheduled back last year. So I frankly would think at this point in time it would be on a good thing on the part of the body, of the Senate, to go ahead and confirm these two individuals, Mr. Cogdell and Mr. Kelly, to the California Water Commission, and I would respectfully request a no vote on the motion to table, if that's what you're going to be doing.
Thank you. Members, we have a motion by Senator Dutton to approve the confirmation of two individuals to the California Water Board. We have returned now to Senator Steinberg to offer a motion at this time.
Senator Corbett will offer the actual motion in a moment, but I just want to, don't think all of the inside baseball should necessarily play out here on the Senate floor, but public has a right, I think, to be educated and understand the process as well. The tradition of the House is that no confirmation vote be held on the floor unless and until there is a Rules Committee hearing reviewing the qualifications of any nominee and making a recommendation to the House. Now, we could convene a Rules Committee. I could call it right now for the purpose that Senator Dutton asks. And between the time that I call it and we walk into the room and bang down the gavel, there will be a letter from the administration downstairs withdrawing Mr. Cogdell's name. So there is not a way to accomplish the end here. I'm sympathetic. I want to say that to my colleagues. I would consider Dave Cogdell for one of my own appointments to something like this border commission or something related. But it is a new governor and a new administration, and this is the way that it is. And so I'm going to, again, ask for a no vote.
Members, the motion is still on the floor. Before I go to Senator Corbett, I want to go first to Senator Huff, who I believe has a parliamentary point.
Yes, parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, sir.
Is it within the purview of the Senate, within our rules, to bring something out of rules onto the floor to make a Senate statement of our affirmation of former Senator Cogdell to the Water Board? Is that within our rules and ability to do so?
I am reminded by the Secretary of the Senate that appointments are distinct and separate from the process we have for bills. As a technical matter, The observation you offer is a correct one, which is that an appointment is always before the House. That being said, it has been the custom and practice for such appointments to be considered by the Rules Committee prior to their consideration by the floor in the Senate.
Notwithstanding custom and practice, is it within our ability to have such a vote right now, within our rules?
It is within our legal ability, notwithstanding the custom and practice, to take such a vote. And in a moment, one of two things will happen in my expectation, sir. Either there will be a vote or there will be a motion to lay on the table, at which time we will take up the motion to lay on the table as a non-debatable item and which requires a simple majority of those voting and present pursuant to Rule 330 of Mason's Manual.
Thank you.
I want to go next to Senator Harman. Senator Harman?
Thank you, Mr. President. Since there's been no motion to lay on the table, I'd like to rise to speak in support of Senator Dutton's motion to remove this nomination from the Rules Committee, bring it to the Senate, acting as the body of the whole, to act on the appointment of these two nominees. And I want to particularly direct my comments to those concerning former Senator Cogdill and his appointment to the Water Board. This individual, Senator Cogdill, spent years in the legislature working on water issues. There is no one, in my opinion, that is more qualified to deal with the complex issues involving water than Senator Cogdill. Many of the issues these local water boards and state water boards deal with infrastructure construction and financing. This is a jobs creation type of situation. We should be moving forward with people that want to serve on these boards and get infrastructure built in California so that we can have the necessary water that we need. I urge the House to act on Senator Dutton's motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Harman. Senator Corbett, for what purpose do you rise, Senator?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Out of deep respect for the discussion that has just occurred and to echo the sentiment and the remarks of our President Pro Tem, and out of, frankly, deep respect for Senator Dave Cogdill, who we all admire, his courage and his outstanding representation in our House, and so that we will have an opportunity to continue to work on this matter, this motion is to lay this measure on the table.
Members, we have a motion from Senator Corbett to lay the motion on the table. As indicated earlier, a motion to lay on the table is not debatable and requires a simple majority of those present and voting. At this time, I will ask the Secretary to call the roll. Senator Corbett is asking for an aye vote. Senator Dutton is asking for a no vote.
Alquist? Aye. Anderson? No. Berryhill? No. Blakesley? No. Calderon? Aye. Canella? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. De Leon? Aye. DeSaulnier? Aye. Dutton? No. Emerson? No. Evans? Aye. Fuller? No. Gaines? No. Hancock? Aye. Harman? No. Hernandez? Aye. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. LaMalfa? No. Leno? Aye. Ted Lieu? Aye. Carol Lieu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Rubio? Runner? No. Semidian?
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Vargas? Aye. Walters? No. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee?
Please call the absent members.
Rubio? Yee?
Ayes 23, noes 15. The motion to lay on the table is passed. Members, are there any other items to be brought up before this body? If not, Senator Kehoe, do you wish to make an announcement at this time? Senator Kehoe at her desk.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Kehoe, one moment. We've got a little electronic interference.
It's me.
Presiding officer will stipulate that you came hands-free, Senator. Please proceed.
Appropriations Committee will meet in about 10 minutes. And are we in, where are we? 39? Our meeting room? Right out here. In about 10 minutes.
The meeting room, once again, ma'am, will be
10:40. 4203.
Members, Senator Kehoe has announced that the Senate Appropriations Committee will meet roughly 10 minutes following our recess in room 4203. Is that correct, Senator? All right, then. Senator Padilla, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
To announce that the Senate Energy, Utilities, and Communications Committee will also meet at 10:40 in room 3191.
3191 for the Senate Energy Committee at 10:40. Senator Evans, for what purpose do you rise, ma'am?
To announce that the Senate Committee on Judiciary will be meeting immediately after session in room 112.
Room 112. Thank you. Are there any other announcements, Senator Wright?
The GO committee will be meeting, I'm not certain when, immediately after session, so I'll have to get the location. Upon adjournment of energy. What room are you in? We'll meet in 3191 at the adjournment of the Energy Committee.
The Senate GO Committee will be meeting upon the adjournment of the Senate Energy Committee. Thank you for that announcement. Members, are there any other announcements before I take the matter back to Senator Steinberg? If not, Senator Steinberg, if there's no other business, the desk is clear.
Monday. Thank you, Mr. President. Session will resume Monday at noon. Senate Appropriations today, of course, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, the Senate will be in recess until 3:30, at which time the adjournment motion will be made. We will reconvene Monday at noon. We are in recess.